There are moments in history when everything changes, but most people don't recognize the shift until it's already over. For generations before me, those moments had obvious markers. Electricity lit up cities and transformed night into day, fundamentally altering how humans lived and worked. Television brought the world into living rooms, creating a shared consciousness across continents. The internet connected billions of minds across invisible wires, democratizing information in ways no one could have predicted. But the moment that changed my world didn't arrive with fanfare or fireworks. It didn't announce itself with breaking news alerts or dramatic pronouncements from world leaders. It arrived quietly, almost politely. A new app here, a smarter system there, a tool that could finish my sentence, or summarize a paragraph, or generate an entire idea in a single breath. At first, it seemed magical, like having a personal assistant who never slept, never complained, never asked for a raise, never had a bad day. Then it became routine. Just another tab open in my browser, another shortcut on my desktop, another tool in an ever-growing digital toolkit. And then it became unsettling. Because the more I watched it grow, the more I saw it learn and evolve, the more I realized that this wasn't a tool at all. It was something else, something bigger, something faster, something exponential, something that was about to challenge everything I thought I knew about work, security, identity, purpose, and the future. This wasn't just AI, this was the beginning of a countdown. A timer ticking down to a moment when the rules would be completely rewritten, when the social contract between workers and the economy would be torn up and replaced with something we couldn't yet imagine. And I wasn't ready for what I was about to learn. Nobody was. The countdown. Why this time is different. When I finally started researching what AI actually meant for my career and my future, I expected hype. I expected buzzwords and corporate speak designed to confuse more than clarify. I expected the same old "robots are coming" jokes that have been recycled since the 1950s, the kind of fear-mongering that never actually materializes into anything real. What I didn't expect was cold, hard numbers. Numbers from credible institutions, backed by rigorous research, numbers that painted a future far more dramatic than anything I'd been told in school. By mentors, by career counselors, or in the sanitized news coverage. The World Economic Forum published a study that shook me to my core. They say 39% of all skills people use today will be outdated by 2030, not changed, not updated, not requiring a little refresher course or weekend workshop. Outdated, obsolete, irrelevant, economically worthless. Think about that for a moment. Let it actually sink in. Almost half of what people do to earn a living, to feed their families, to build their identities around, to derive meaning and purpose from, will no longer matter in the marketplace. And the timeline? Not 30 years from now. Not 20. Not even 10. Then I found the McKinsey analysis, and somehow it got even worse. They predict 14% of workers worldwide, that's roughly 375 million people, will be forced to switch careers entirely by 2030. Not switch jobs within the same field, not switch companies while doing similar work. Switch careers, complete reinvention, starting over from scratch in a completely different field, possibly at a lower salary, definitely with less security. And that just scratches the surface of what's coming. Because for every one person forced to change their entire path, 3 others will watch their job transform so drastically it becomes unrecognizable. Imagine keeping your title, but losing everything your title ever meant. Imagine being told you're still employed, while realizing you don't know how to do your job anymore because everything has been reorganized around AI systems you barely understand. Systems that were implemented without asking for your input or consent. Imagine training for a decade to become an expert, only to watch a machine surpass your expertise in a matter of months. That's what this reset looks like. It's not science fiction, it's not speculation, it's already happening in slow motion all around us. And the most unsettling part? It isn't coming with mass layoffs and picket lines. It isn't coming with drama or breaking news headlines or angry protests in the streets. It's coming silently. Companies aren't firing people, they're just not replacing them when they leave. Someone resigns, and the role evaporates overnight. Processes get quietly rebuilt around automation without anyone making a formal announcement. Departments shrink naturally, almost organically, like a plant slowly wilting. AI quietly takes over the tasks no one has time to question, because everyone's just trying to keep their head above water and their job secure. This is a revolution without riots, a shift without sirens, a transformation without a warning label or instruction manual. And somewhere in the middle of all this research, surrounded by depressing statistics and dire predictions, I realized that the job market I was raised to believe in, the one with clear career ladders and predictable progression, the one where loyalty and hard work were rewarded, had already disappeared, and nobody had bothered to tell us. The vanishing, the industries collapsing first. 1. The slow death of clerical and finance work. The first signs I noticed didn't come from factories or assembly lines. They came from offices, cubicles, conference rooms, places that looked exactly like where I worked every day. Bookkeepers meticulously tracking expenses and reconciling accounts. Data entry clerks inputting information with careful precision. Administrative assistants scheduling meetings and managing calendars. Junior accountants reconciling ledgers and preparing reports. Paralegals reviewing documents and conducting legal research. Jobs built on order, precision, and repetition. The kind of work that requires attention to detail and consistency. The kind of work that seemed safe, stable, respectable. The kind of work parents encourage their children to pursue. And here's the devastating problem. AI thrives on those exact things. It's better at order than any human could ever be. It's more precise than the most careful accountant. It never gets tired during repetitive tasks. When I dug deeper, I found something that genuinely shocked me. Major accounting firms, the Big Four, the prestigious names everyone wants on their resume, have reduced entry-level hiring by up to 40% in just 2 years. 40%. Not a slight adjustment, not a temporary freeze during a recession, a fundamental restructuring of how these firms operate. Why? Because AI now handles the tasks juniors used to do, the grunt work, the tedious analysis, the document review, the same tasks that traditionally build senior experts. The foundational work that teaches you the business from the ground up. And that creates a new kind of crisis that nobody's talking about. If the junior roles disappear, where do the future seniors come from? Who's learning the craft? Who's being mentored? Who's developing the judgment that only comes from years of hands-on experience? An entire generation of specialists isn't being trained. Career ladders are collapsing from the bottom up, rung by rung. The pipeline is broken. This isn't just job loss. This is skill extinction. This is the death of institutional knowledge. This is the end of a centuries-old apprenticeship model that built expertise slowly and carefully. And the people who spent years getting their accounting degrees, their finance certifications, their paralegal training, they're stuck in the middle of a transition they never signed up for. 2. Coding and IT, the collapse. We didn't see coming for years, decades really. Coding was marketed as absolutely future-proof, the golden ticket to job security in an uncertain economy. Learn to code, they said. It's recession-proof. It's the language of the future. It's the one skill that will always be in demand. Entire industries sprung up around this promise. coding boot camps charging $15,000 for 12-week programs, universities adding computer science programs, governments funding coding education initiatives. But AI changed the rules overnight, and nobody updated the playbook. Nobody sent out a memo. GitHub Copilot, Cursor, ChatGPT, writing entire functions from natural language descriptions, autocode engines, self-debugging tools that fix problems faster than humans can identify them. I watched AI write a complete feature in seconds that would have taken me hours of careful, methodical work. I watched it fix bugs before I could even reproduce them in my testing environment. I watched it explain complex code better than most instructors I'd learned from in university. I watched it refactor entire code bases with a level of consistency no human team could match. And then I read Geoffrey Hinton's warning, the godfather of AI himself, the researcher who literally helped build the neural network foundation for all of this technology. For mundane intellectual labor, AI will replace everybody. And suddenly, it all clicked into horrifying clarity. Mundane intellectual labor. That's what most coding jobs actually are. Not building revolutionary new algorithms. Not inventing breakthrough technologies. Mundane intellectual labor. A single senior engineer with AI assistance can now do the work of 3 to 5 humans without breaking a sweat. Startups that needed 10 developers 2 years ago now hire 3. Product teams are shrinking globally, not growing. Job postings require more experience for less pay. Bootcamp grads are flooding a market that simply doesn't need them anymore. One bootcamp graduate I spoke with applied to 300 jobs. She got 3 interviews, 0 offers. This isn't a temporary bubble that'll pop when the economy recovers. This is a structural collapse that's permanent. Coding didn't die, it just became automated. And what's left requires a level of expertise and creativity that most people will never reach, no matter how many boot camps they attend. 3. Service, logistics, and the invisible collapse. Then I looked at the physical jobs, the ones everyone assumed would fall last because they require human presence, human dexterity, human judgment. Drivers navigating complex urban environments. Cashiers providing customer service. Warehouse workers picking and packing orders. Delivery staff handling fragile items. And I discovered something that changed how I understood this entire transformation. AI isn't just replacing individual jobs, it's replacing entire ecosystems. Self-checkout didn't just replace cashiers, it trained consumers to do the work themselves, to scan their own items, to bag their own groceries, to accept worse service as normal. Autonomous trucks aren't just replacing drivers, they're replacing everything around them in a devastating ripple effect. Truck stops that depend on drivers stopping for food and fuel. Roadside diners where truckers have been eating for generations. Small motels where drivers rest between long hauls. Gas stations in rural areas. Repair shops that specialized in commercial vehicles. Entire small towns built around highway infrastructure. Towns that provided jobs, community, purpose, are about to become ghost towns. AI isn't replacing jobs in isolation. It's replacing ecosystems, communities, ways of life. And the craziest part? Most people won't even notice it happening until it hits their town, their street, their family. The bridge, the rise of human-centered work. After weeks of this research, after drowning in depressing statistics and dystopian predictions, I asked myself the only question that actually mattered. If AI is taking over all predictable work, what's left for me? What's left for any of us? Is there any place for humans in this new economy? That's when I discovered a concept that changed my entire perspective and gave me genuine hope for the first time. The no-collar worker. Not white collar, not blue collar, a completely new category of worker, defined not by the tasks they perform or the collar of their shirt, but by the uniquely human skills they bring to increasingly complex problems. For decades, maybe centuries, work was fundamentally about tasks. Follow this process exactly. Complete this checklist without deviation. Memorize this information and recall it accurately. Stay consistent. Be reliable. Be predictable. Be replaceable. The entire industrial economy was built on this model. Break work into small, repeatable tasks. Train workers to do those tasks efficiently. Measure their output. Optimize endlessly. But here's the thing. AI is the absolute god of consistency. It is the perfect checklist machine. It never forgets a step, never gets tired, never has a bad day, never asks for a raise or better conditions. So the jobs that survive this transformation are the jobs that aren't built on checklists. The jobs that can't be reduced to predictable steps. The no-collar worker thrives precisely because of what makes them irreducibly human. Intuition that can't be programmed or reduced to an algorithm. Judgment calls in gray areas where there's no clear right answer. Empathy that builds real trust between real people. Creative leaps that defy pure logic. Ethical reasoning in complex situations where the rules haven't been written yet. And for the first time in this whole research journey, I felt hope instead of paralyzing fear. Because the future isn't rewarding people who act like machines. It's rewarding the people who lean into being profoundly, authentically human. My choice. The path forward. So here's what I decided after all of this. I'm not running from AI. I'm not pretending it doesn't exist or hoping it goes away. I'm running toward the parts of work that AI fundamentally can't touch. Emotional intelligence. The ability to read a room, to sense what's not being said, to build genuine connection in a world of increasing isolation. Creative problem solving. Not just applying existing solutions, but inventing entirely new approaches to problems that haven't been solved yet. Ethical judgment. Being the human in the loop who asks, should we, not just can we? And above all, adaptability. The willingness to learn, unlearn, and relearn constantly without attachment to old identities. Andrew Ng, one of the world's leading AI researchers, and a person who understands this technology better than almost anyone, said something I repeat to myself constantly when I feel afraid. In the age of AI, strategy isn't where you work. It's how you adapt. So I'm adapting. I'm not trying to outrun the machine, I'm learning to use it as leverage, as an amplifier of my uniquely human abilities, as a tool that makes me more creative, more productive, more valuable. The Great AI Reset isn't a tragedy for everyone. It's a filter, and the question isn't whether you'll survive it. The question is, which version of yourself will you choose to become? The one who resists and becomes irrelevant, or the one who adapts and becomes unstoppable?